What did you think of the Netflix series Drive to Survive? Do you think a series like this would last?
I thought they killed it with Drive to Survive. It's perfect. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable for people that like racing and people that don't like racing. And if you're able to do that, it's really impressive. They just made an entertaining product, essentially. They've captivated people that didn't care anything about Formula One, and now all of a sudden they love Formula One, just by the entertainment factor, but also the interest that they were able to generate on the drivers themselves, the process that they go through, the complexity of the racing. It's really interesting, and they captured it with a lens that people hadn't seen previously. So I thought it was really positive. For IndyCar, we could absolutely use something like that. It's something that we're trying to do a little bit with our Admit One YouTube series. We're trying to give people, it's not as glitzy and glammy. We are not putting near the production budget in place like that, but just giving people that alternate perspective or look inside what we're doing, I think is interesting. And so, certainly we're trying to achieve a similar result with a much slimmer budget. But yeah, I think a bigger budget production, Drive to Survive type formula for IndyCar could be really big.
What is your favorite type of music? Do you listen to any music to get you pumped up on race day?
I don't listen to music to get pumped up on race day. I like music. I like all types of music. I mean, I like R&B. I mean, I'm talking like some old school stuff, Boys to Men. Any new school rap, that's normally what I'm listening to when I'm working out. But I love, rock, alternative, bands like Linkin Park. I also like some bands that are a lot more slow paced, like a Coldplay. So I listen to everything. Yellow Card, Green Day, it doesn't matter. I like pop too, throw some, I listen to Justin Bieber. I listen to everything. There's nothing that's really off the table for me when it comes to music, but I don't use it as a tool to prep for the race car. Some guys do that. It's never been my thing.
Do you race rookies different than more experienced competitors? And who is the hardest driver to pass on the track?
You definitely race. Yeah, I race people. I race everybody different. You're constantly analyzing, what you can do with each competitor. And I think rookies, they have their own sort of section as far as the way you approach them. But there's certain people that you can trust a little bit more, even if they're a rookie. Like a guy like Pato O'Ward, he was really solid. He was someone that I could race super hard and aggressive, and I knew that I was going to get the respect in return. You don't always get that with someone that's new in the series. So it's very much case by case. I don't think it matters if you're a veteran or you're a rookie. You're constantly analyzing how you can push people or not push people. What was the second part of that? Who's the toughest to pass? I got to tell you, I think Will Power is probably the toughest to pass, even though he's my teammate. Like he's the hardest guy for me to get around. I don't know why, man. He just sometimes too, he will be dying on tires and just not give it up. Not give it up. He's always the hardest for me.
If you could pick any race to win that isn't the 500 or Nashville,
okay,
which one would it be and why?
Right. Well, I feel like I'm always going to say it's the next one. Whatever the next one is, the next opportunity, I want to win it. Probably Long Beach at this point. I mean, if it's not Indy, if it's not Nashville, Long Beach is probably the most prestigious outside those two for me. But they're all important. I mean, I enjoy any victory you can get is impressive, I think, at this level. So you appreciate all of them, but yeah, Long Beach would be up there.
How much input do you give your engineers about car setup? Are you a driver that likes to give a lot of feedback on how to tweak and dial in the perfect suspension or aero setup of your car, or do you trust the engineers and stay out of that part mostly?
It's a collaboration, I mean, you try and find that balance. I think the engineers, the engineer can only be so successful or can only be as effective as the driver will let them be. And I think the, driver can be only as effective as the engineer will let them be. I guess what I mean by that is, it's a two-way street. Like you can have a really good driver with sort of a limited engineer, and they might not find success, and vice versa. You might have a really capable engineer, like world-class engineer, but a not so great driver, and again, they may not find success. So there's a balance there, but I like to give a lot of feedback. I'm very involved in our setups, very, very involved, and I think that's the right way to be. As far as the hard details go, that's not us. The engineers are so good. My engineer Gavin Ward, they're putting in the long hours. The aggressive amount of work that's going in as far as figuring out how to map the car, especially if you have a new aero part on it. It's a tremendous amount of hours to map the car, understand how that's affecting everything. Then when we're given the information, we test it live in real life. And so I have hands-on feedback for what I felt of it, but they're putting in all the work to prep those items to get them to you, or prep setups. But that direction that you give is really critical. You're directing the engineer on how you want them to approach new setups for the car. Sometimes they can come up with that by themselves, or sometimes they're looking for direction from the drivers. So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I'm very, very involved, but it's a collaborative effort all the way through.
What would your ideal IndyCar schedule be, ignoring money, practicality, and probability, if you were in charge?
Ideal schedule?
And why would it be 17 races at Iowa?
Is that what he says? Oh, man, yeah. Well, we definitely have a doubleheader at Iowa. Mandatory. We'd throw Milwaukee back in there. No, I think ideal schedule for me, 21 events. I just think that's a really good number. It's a nice number. 21 events, more short ovals. We'd be putting on Milwaukee, definitely going back to Iowa. 100% going to Richmond. I had to think about that. I wanted to say Rockingham for some reason. Richmond would be incredible. It's basically like Iowa, but smoother. We'd keep a lot of what we have on the calendar, but we'd add some international stuff. Go back to Surfers, go to Suzuka, probably go to Brands Hatch, and call it a day. Brands Hatch GP. Just want to be clear on that, if you didn't think that.
Who are 3 former drivers that you'd hate, and by that I mean fear, to face in modern setups?
I think Senna is top of the list, 100%. That's obvious. I think anyone would want to go against Senna in modern equipment, but you just don't know. I think it's really hard to judge drivers across eras. Most sports have that argument, who's the greatest ever. I think racing's no different. You can't judge drivers across eras. There's too many differences. So Senna would be one. Going all the way back to like Fangio, I think he would be an amazing person to go against. I think Schumacher's kind of he's an obvious one too, but he would be really interesting. Anyone that's considered, I think, one of the best, or that, really, excelled above everybody in a certain era would be top of my list to go against in modern equipment.
Joseph, can you confirm that Spencer Pigot is actually Macklemore? There are no images to be found of them in the same place and time, so I'm just curious. I did not make this up. This
Okay.
is a real question.
Okay. I don't know. I have no idea if Spencer Pigot is Macklemore. He may be. I mean, it's true. They probably haven't ever been in the same place at the same time. It could also just be because they don't know each other. But they also may be the same person. I can't confirm or deny that. I have no idea.
Would you rather have 4 IndyCar championships or 4 Indy 500s?
4 Indy 500s all day.
That's
how?
everybody's answer.
Yeah, how could you not? I mean,
So here's a better way of saying that. If you had no championships right now, was the answer?
what would I choose? Yeah, I would say. I think it would more so be if I had no championship right now. You would 100% take the 4 Indy 500s. If it was like, hey, you got to give back 2 championships to have 4 Indy 500s. I think you'd probably still make that dirty trade. It's a dirty trade, but you know what? I'd take it.
Hi, Joseph. If you got the chance, would you run Le Mans, Daytona 500, or any other Crown Jewel event?
All of them. Yeah, I want to do all those.
If you could drive anybody in the 2-seater, who would it be and why?
Anybody in the 2-seater.
And at which track?
And at which track? I really want to give my wife a ride in the 2-seater. I think she would enjoy that. I think she would be blown away by, how much is actually going on. I think she actually wants to do that, so I'll probably give my wife Ashley a ride at some point.